Hi, everybody. Rick DiClemente with Astrology Unplugged. Nice to have you with us from YouTube or live. And in case you have not joined us live and you're watching on YouTube next week, if you want to go next Thursday night at 8 o'clock Eastern, just type in Astrology Unplugged in Google, and Google will give you the link to go to this live page. Now, I told you every week I kind of listen and try to be prompted for what I should talk about. Some nights gets pretty heavy, some nights is light. Tonight is very basic. And so if you're kind of embarrassed or you don't want to talk about your lack of knowledge, everybody here has different levels of knowledge. It's very, very difficult to get good at astrology. It just is. It takes a long time. But tonight's very basic, and I want to talk about the four elements and the three modes. Earth, air, water, fire are the elements. Cardinal, fixed, mutable are the modes. And when you mix the 3 times 4, you get the 12 signs. I'm going to cover it very basically. It's covered heavily in our book, The Exquisite Zodiac. In the beginning of the book, it's there as a reminder. And unfortunately, it made many people think that book is a beginner's book. It's not. The book is for beginners and for advanced people. And only people who've read the whole book know that. Anyhow, we're going to cover the basics. And you're really going to need to print out this graph on paper for yourself, or else keep the link to it. And here it is. Here's the location of it in case you want to go see it. Okay. All of my materials for you are kept in my website, starself.com. And I do believe you need to do all lowercase. I think on that computer, this is a computer in Dallas, Texas. Starself.com, everything is under /class. And in that class folder, there's a Teaching Zodiac. All together, teachingzodiac.jpg. So if you're on with the show now, just open up another tab on your browser and another tab on your browser and go to starself.com/class/teachingzodiac.jpg. And I'll bring this up again later. And it's also in the chat box. Okay. Now we're going to be doing a lot of work from that image because it just explains it so much more. Look, there's Laura and Doug. Hello. Nice to have you with us. Nice to see you both. Barbara, nice to see you. Okay, and Susan's sleeping somewhere around in Indiana. So remember, Susan is our traveling Sagittarian, and she's out going starting all through the Midwest. She's been taking her time in Ohio. She will make her way down to the Southwest. Okay, now in astrology, I'm going to go right to this diagram. All right. In astrology, there are 4 elements. And we always say earth, air, water, fire, but that's not really proper. Fire is always first. So the 4 elements are fire, earth, air, then water. Those are the 4 elements. There are 3 of each in the zodiac. Fire people are, let's just take our time so you understand this clearly. Fire people are they're full of energy. Aries, Leo, Sagittarius. These people are named fire because they don't have to start themselves. You don't have to encourage them. They start themselves. They're full of energy. They're full of pep. They're full of spirit. Okay? They can be loud. They can be arrogant. They can be overly fiery, or they can be very active and very dynamic. All depends on how they use their fire. But these are the 3 fire signs. There are 3 of each of these. Okay, and I'll be telling you a lot about the differences between the 3, etc. And you really must know this stuff if you're going to really start to understand translating a chart, you really need to know how to do this. So Aries, of course, starts the zodiac with fire. And in this little indentation here, we're looking at the second letter. Fire, fire, fire is the second letter of each of these pairings. Now, let's take a look at the next group. And the next group is the earth signs, okay? And with the earth signs, we're going to look at Taurus, and we're going to look at Virgo, and we're going to look at Capricorn. So it's a triangle. So this is called the fire triangle. Earth signs are very much what they sound like. They're very practical. They're not much into woo-woo. They're into work. They're usually really good workers. They get things done. They are very down-to-earth people usually. Okay, that's what the earth element brings to the table. Now, clear that. The air signs are Aquarius and Gemini and Libra. Now, Aquarius sounds like and looks like water, looks like a water wave, but it stands for the word water bearer, okay? But it has nothing to do with water. It's very much an air sign. And air signs are thinkers and communicators, okay? The thinkers and communicators. Thinking is important to them. Communicating, writing books, exchanging ideas is air. That's what air is. Fire is zest. Earth is practical. Air is mind, intellect, communication. 3 of each. Now, the final group, in one way, one of the most important groups, are the water signs, Cancers, the Scorpios, and the Pisces. Okay, these are the emotional people. Water stands for emotion. They don't necessarily care what you think or what you've done. They care how you feel. What do you feel? Okay. Now, what we're going to get into in just a minute, as you just saw, there are 3 of each of the 4 elements. And the elements are very elemental. They're really basic building blocks down deep inside you, and you don't even know why they're there. Now, some people are a little bit different. For instance, some people are fire sign, but they got a whole bunch in Earth, a whole bunch of planets in Earth. Some people are earth signs, they got a whole bunch of fire. So it doesn't always follow suit. That's why you can't get overexcited. You just can't get overexcited about your sun sign. Your sun sign will lead you astray because your sun sign is just a part of you. And there's a whole bunch more to you than just your sun sign. Okay? But these basic building blocks, as our book is based upon these, you'll start to understand why this is. Okay, so you got fire signs, which are very active. You got earth signs, which are stable, down to earth. You got air signs that are basically mental, and you got water signs, very emotional. So it's obvious to see if you've got too much fire, you're just too fiery, too excitable. And people kind of get nervous around you. Your energy burns them. It's too much fire for them. If you don't have enough fire, then you're real slow. You can't get anything done. You don't get no excitement in you. If you got the proper amount of fire in you, then you're a good balance. So fire is a real easy thing to sense with people. I know when I met my first wife, I've only been married once, but when I met her, she said, guess my sign. Which everybody did. You're so good, guess my sign. And I guessed all the fire signs. And I was wrong every time. And here she was a Capricorn, but she had a lot of Aries in her. She had a lot of Sag in her. She had a lot of Leo in her. So I was seeing the fire and feeling it, but the earth was hidden behind it. So you can't always guess this. All right, now we got to shift to the next category. That's called the modes. There are many words for this. Hi, John. The modes are called the quadruplicities. I forget the other names for them. And there are 4 of those. Those are the ones I'm always harping on in here. It's really critical that you understand the 4 modes. Now, there are 3 modes, 4 of each, I should say. 3 modes, 4 of each. Cardinal, fixed, mutable. Cardinal, fixed, mutable. Let me show you those. All right. The modes are here. There are 4 cardinal signs. There are 4 fixed signs. There are 4 mutable signs. These are the first letter that you see in each of these groupings here. So let me show you that. The cardinal signs are the Aries, the Cancers, the Libras, and the Capricorns. These are your most important signs because they're the beginning of a whole new quadrant. And the book explains very clearly what this quadrant is about, what this quadrant is about, what this quadrant is about, etc. And the cardinal signs are the beginning of each new quadrant. So cardinal signs are leaders. They're generators. They're not necessarily good leaders, but usually they lead and they generate. They make things go. They don't have to get started by somebody or read a book about it or watch a movie about it. They just naturally make things go. Now, you'll notice now we're starting to get more complicated. This is where the beauty of the zodiac comes in. This is a cardinal fire sign. It's a cardinal fire sign. So Aries gets started by using fire. They light fires under you. Cancer gets started by water. So Cancer gets started by emotions. How are you feeling? Let's make sure you're feeling okay. Making sure everybody's feeling all right. It's all about their emotions, very critical to them. Aries is not worried about how you feel. Let's get going. Cancer is. So they're all cardinal signs, but they all do their cardinal generating in 4 different ways according to what element they are. So when you mix these 2 together, 4 times 3 is 12, and 4 times 3 is 12. This is why there will never be 13 signs. There will never be 13 signs. No matter how long these other planets try to weasel their way into the zodiac, you'll always have 12. The zodiac is 12, just like a guitar string. 4 times 3, that's why. This sign is cardinal, but they lead by their air. Cardinal air. They lead by ideas. John Lennon, Lee Iacocca, all kind of leaders, Libra. Libra people teach you how to think. Cancers teach you how to feel. What's his name? Captain Kangaroo, Dear Abby, Ann Landers. They're basically based upon feeling. Aries lead by fire. These are a lot of our great leaders, our great movie stars who really look hunky and they're out there leading the way and they look real masculine. The Capricorn's the final group and they lead through Earth, cardinal Earth. Okay? They lead through Earth. In other words, they lead by teaching you how to do something. They're very good at how do you do these things. Okay? So you see that by the time we're done, we end up with 12 unique pairs. And this is the main reason why you're the way you are. And when I wrote this book, I had to work long and hard to figure out what were the real differences to people. So we broke this book down into many sections, trying to show the differences. One being the soul growing up through the 12 stages, one being each sign is a follow-up of the sign before it. Okay, let's go on back to the zodiac here. And I can't push enough how important it is to read this book if you're starting in astrology, because it gives you a really good basic understanding of why the 12 signs are the way they are. Okay, Now, in back here where we were, we're going to take a look at the next group. And we're looking at, you saw the cardinal. The next group, they're the second one in each quadrant. They're called the fixed signs. The Tauruses, the Leos, the Scorpios, and the Aquarians. And the reason I'm always telling you about these is when I'm watching transits, I'm always looking across the zodiac or at a right angle. So when a planet's hitting at this point, it's also hitting at that point. It's also hitting at this point. It's also hitting at that point. So that's why it's really important that you understand instantly what the 4 fixed signs are. Okay? And fixed signs have to do with fixing, affixing. You've had things generated with the cardinal signs. Cardinal signs get things started. Fixed signs get it fixed. They focus it. They organize it. They concentrate it. They focus on it. That's what they do. They're not necessarily good starters. They're not necessarily good givers, but they're real good organizers. So these people end up being good with your taxes. They end up really good in warehouses. They end up being good behind the scenes because they have great organizational ability and they're really good researchers. Okay, you have a fixed earth, which is Taurus. What's that sound like? The bull? Doesn't that sound like the bull digging his hoof in the dirt? You just don't move a bull if they don't want to move. They're very anchored in the earth. A fixed fire sign, fixed in fire. Well, when Leos start their fire, you're not going to put the fire out. The fire is flaming. It's just really, really strong, and you really can't push a Leo down, much like trying to take a beach ball, push it underwater, and it pops back up because they're a fixed sign, but they're fixed fire. Okay? The next fixed sign, fixed water sign is Scorpio. Fixed water, what is water in its fixed state? Water is ice. And if you've ever had a Scorpio pissed off at you, you'll know what ice is all about. Okay? You'll understand what ice is all about because you can feel, because usually scorpionic energies are love it or hate it, love it or hate it. It depends on the individual, but they're known for really fixed feelings. So if they feel a certain way, forget about trying to talk them out of it. Or people with Venus and Scorpio, people with Moon and Scorpio, it can be many different ways. I'm going to give you time to let these things sink in. This is why the chart is so important to have in your possession. You can keep referring to it. The final group are the mutables. The mutables are third in each quadrant. They are the Geminis, the Virgos, the Sagittarians, and the Pisces. So what do you think? Here's the words here on your left. Generate for cardinal, concentrate for fixed. Mutables are dispersers. Mutables give it out. They don't really care about starting. They don't care about concentrating. They're about giving out, dispersing, giving to people. So you got the first one of Gemini, and Geminis, if you know any Geminis, they're always taking their ideas and telling you about it. Call Bill, call Sally. Did you hear what that? I saw this new magazine. Hey, did you see this new show? Hey, go see this movie. They get the information and they can't keep it to themselves. Their objective is to disperse it, to give it to you. So again, we see the cross, but this is the mutable cross. You have the Aries, you have the cardinal cross with Aries. You got the fixed cross with Taurus. You got the cardinal, you got the mutable cross with Gemini, and then Virgo. And Virgo is an earth sign. So Virgo is a mutable earth sign. So that means they like to give out things. They like to help you with stuff. Don't cry on my shoulder, but I'll come over and help you build your garage. I'll come over and help you do a cookie sale. I'll help you do these things. I'll help you make these things. So they give through the material realm. These guys give through the intellectual realm. These guys give through material realm. The next group are the Sagittarians who give by fire. Well, how do you give fire? You give fire by being a cheerleader. That's what Sagittarians are. They're the cheerleaders of the zodiac. This is why Sagittarian planets are fun, and this is why you get it in a Winnebago and travel all around Ohio and Indiana, because you're spreading your fire all around. And the best way to understand Sagittarius is to think about Walt Disney's Disney World and think about those flames coming out of the top. And Walt Disney was a Sagittarian himself. So Disney is a perfect example of a Sagittarian where he creates excitement, but he wants to disperse it. So think of it as flames coming out of the top of his castle. Perfect example of teaching what Sagittarius is. Think about Jimi Hendrix and the way he played guitar as a Sagittarian. I mean, you didn't see flames, but you could almost see flames coming out of his guitar, coming out of his head. He was just so fiery. He was just so connected to expressing fire or life energy. Okay? So this is what really makes a planet placement different than another planet placement. This is what makes the difference between a moon in Sag different than a moon in Scorpio. One's fixed, one's flamey. It's all based on these 7 words: fire, earth, air, water, cardinal, fixed, mutable. The final grouping here are the Pisces people, and it's really appropriate that you see that we get to the 12th and final stage, and all that Pisces really want to do is give love. They want to give emotions, give love. And that's why Pisces don't necessarily understand what the rest of us are doing, because all they want to do is give love. And the rest of us think they're nuts, and you're going to get walked on, and they do get walked on. And being a Pisces is not easy, but it's really fascinating to see the beauty of the zodiac and to see how exquisite the zodiac is, that it ends up with giving love. It starts out with, I'm going to light a fire under you, and ends up with, I'm going to give love to everybody. So the book is very much about the transition that takes place from each sign to each sign to each sign to each sign. But it's really important that you understand each triangle, the fire triangle, the earth triangle, the water, and the air triangle. It's also, thank you very much, John. Well, a lot of that goes to my partner. John says it's a beautifully written book. Well, I kind of put the ideas down, but Liza's the reason it came out so beautifully written, because she's just really excellent with words and great reader. And she just, no, it's not good enough. That's good enough? Not yet. Is that good enough? No, not yet. Thank you, Leslie. Thank you. I'll make sure to relay that message on to her. It means a lot to her. Anyhow, so when we look at ourselves, beside the other things, one of the biggest things in the zodiac is what signs before you. That's one of the biggest things there is. And you'll notice that most people, in general, most people cannot get along well with the sign before it. They just can't do it. Sagittarius don't get along with the Scorpios. Libras don't get along with the Virgos. I'm being general here. Okay. You remember that everybody's got 4 or 5 signs real strong in their chart. And it can really change you. You can have a chart with no earth signs. I see this all the time. People say, I don't have any earth, but how come I'm so practical? I don't have any planets in Taurus. I don't have any planets in Capricorn or Virgo. How come I'm so practical? Worried about getting things done. Then you look at the chart and Saturn's on the ascendant, or Saturn's next to the sun. So the placement of planets can also affect you too. So you can be a no fire at all, but you never sit still and you're always fiery, and you're born with the sun next to Mars. So you can pick up these qualities from the placements of the planets, but that's a little bit too much for tonight, because to digest in one night the four elements and the three modes is plenty a mouthful. Okay. Now let's take a look here. Watch how the zodiac changes so much from going one sign to the next. And I'm not talking about one sign outgrowing the sign before it. I'm not talking about a sign morphing from one sign to the next, which is what happens, and which is the central piece of the exquisite zodiac. But just watch how everything changes when you go from sign to sign, and you go from the mode changes and the element changes. And watch and see how beautifully constructed the zodiac is. And it really is exquisite. And what I mean by exquisite is just, it's self-relating, it's self-intelligent, it's just incredibly beautiful, like examining the structure of a quartz crystal or things in nature. Okay, so we take a look back to this. Okay, so we start out with a cardinal fire sign, okay? So we start out with Aries. And when you're a cardinal fire sign, that's what you do. You start fires. It doesn't mean you're walking around burning buildings down, but it means Aries people want to go from here to there, huh, Diane? They want to go from here to there. And there's nothing else they want. They don't want anybody in their way. I want to go there. That's it. Keep it simple. They want to go. Why? Because they want to go there. That's why. So they have a basic beauty to them. This is why Aries people oftentimes have a basic purity or an innocence. They have a basic innocence about them. Look at the movie star Jennifer Garner. Here's a real good example of an Aries personality. She's just got that very childlike girl next door look. That's very much an Aries pure fire. They just want to do it. And some things come along with these fire signs because everything is imperfect. And a lot of times Aries people will feel confident. They will sound confident. But when you examine the facts, you find out, well, they really weren't right. But in all essence, deeply, the Aries doesn't care if it's right. It's more important to the Aries that they're moving. Okay, you're going to see the amazing things happen as we go through the zodiac. It's just unbelievable, really. Okay, so Aries can be arrogant. They can be very selfish. Everything's about me. Most of them aren't. Most of them are self-oriented. And that's why when we wrote the book, we picked our words very carefully, not to say selfish or unselfish. We picked self-oriented and other-oriented. Because the first 6 signs of the zodiac, is the me half. Me. This is about personalities who learn mainly from their own experience. These people are us, or we. They learn from mixing with others. This is very important that you understand the basic principles before you get confused about your own particular chart. So here we go. So now we move into Taurus. It's no longer cardinal, which is a starter. Now it's fixed. It's no longer fire. Now it's earth. So it's fixed to the earth. So this is why Taurus people are very affixed. They're very stubborn. Look what happened to the Civil War when Lincoln finally got it right and he put great U.S. Grant in charge. What did he do? He dug into Vicksburg. He dug into the hillsides. He surrounded the town and he sieged them. He didn't allow any food. And next thing you know, he just outweighted them. He choked Vicksburg off at the root. And Vicksburg was on a critical point on the Mississippi River. So what did he do? He went over to Springfield, I think it's called. I think that's the name, in Virginia did the same thing. He's going to outweigh you. He's going to outweight you. It's just like playing chess with somebody that won't move. You ever play with chess with somebody and they just keep staring at the board and staring, and they work against you if you're impatient. They just outweight you. This is what Taurus is really good about. I had a computer industry in my past. I worked for a really good computer company with about 80 people. We were up and coming and really doing very well in the 70s and 80s. And whatever happened, a boss got involved and ran the company down. Well, everybody started jumping ship. Got to look for a job, look for a job, look for a job. Who were the last 3 people left in the company? 2 of them are still there. 2 Tauruses. They're the last ones to leave. So Taurus's patience is its power, and waiting too long is its weakness. But that's what they're about. They're about anchoring down. Oh, let's not talk too quickly. You picture the hobbit in the hobbit hole. He's got his feet up to the fire. He's got his cup of tea. He's not in any hurry. We're not going anywhere. And then comes the crazy Aquarian or Piscean Gandalf. It says, get ready for all the upset of the party. And the Bilbo goes nuts. What do you mean the upset? I'm not going anywhere. And then comes all the dwarves and chaos ensues. Well, the Taurus is like really put out, because they're made to hunker down. So this is why when you're trying to affect a Taurus person, you got to take your time. If you're dating them, take your time. Don't rush them. Now, watch this. This is amazing. It's an amazing correlation when you look at every sign, the change that takes place, the transformation to the next sign is just unbelievable. It's dramatic. It's because the mode is changing. It's because the element is changing. Watch and see it. Now we'll move to see the Gemini comes along, okay? They were fixed, now they're mutable. They were earth, now they're air. So you've gone from fixed to the earth to giving out air, okay? So now you've got the whole shebang here going on with the toddler who's running around the house discovering this. Look under here, look under here, look at this, and he's learning to talk. And he, why? He's talking and expressing himself because the sign before it, and you would be surprised at how many Taurus people end up marrying Geminis. It's just unbelievable. It really is common. It's a really bad match, and it's real common. And what they are is they're complementary. They're not compatible, but each one has what the other one doesn't. One's got patience, one doesn't. One's got mobility, the other one doesn't. So now you've gone into Gemini, and they're mutable air. Whatever they discover, Gemini is all about, I want to go discover stuff. And they're really about epistemology. They're about how does the brain work. They're obsessed with how does the brain work. And when they find out, they want to tell everybody. So I'm going to tell you a couple secrets here. Don't tell a secret to a Gemini, and don't tell a secret to a Libra, because they're not going to keep it to themselves, unless they got some Scorpio in it, maybe. They're going to tell people what it is, okay? And I've often wondered about rumors. I've often wondered, and I finally figured it out one day. You know the reason that rumors travel so fast? It's not because somebody broke their promise and told everybody. It's because they broke their promise and they told one person. And then that person tells one person. Then that person tells one person. The next thing you know, it's just gone crazy. But it makes sense because surely when you tell your secret to your best friend, you know it's not going anywhere. And then it keeps promulgating. So Gemini is all about finding out new stuff, learning to talk and telling everybody about it. Everybody's got a purpose in the zodiac, and it's based on mutable air, giving out thoughts, giving out ideas, telling people how you think about stuff. What does Mr. Quiet John Hayes talk about? Get John talking, and he'll talk your ear off. He's got so many thousands of ideas and so many books he's read. And he's sitting there quietly, but I ain't fooled by it because he's got a lot of Scorpio in him. And that's the reason he tends towards being quiet sometimes. Okay, let's go next. All right. This is kind of a brief version of what the book's about. Okay, the Cancer. You now went from mutable air, giving out thoughts, giving out ideas, and now you're crossing a solid line. And when you cross a solid line, it's a big deal because you're entering the next quadrant and you're entering a new cardinal sign. And the cardinal signs are the real major changes in the zodiac. So now you've gone from this quadrant to this quadrant, and instead of giving out air, now you're concerned with cardinal, maintaining, generating emotions, or family, generating love, generating home, nest. So now the Cancer's there. The Cancer doesn't want you running around talking about all these things you think and stuff. The Cancer's obsessed with how do you feel? Are you okay? Is the family all right? Am I all right? That's what Cancer's about. Am I all right? Am I feeling all right? If not, what do I got to do? And some sign of the zodiac has to do that. Cardinal water. Dear Abby, Ann Landers, Captain Kangaroo, all these elementary teachers are focused on how you're feeling. What are you feeling? Okay. So the Cancer in the family is the one that's worried about the tradition. Are we all going to be there? Are we all going to eat mom's apple pie? Are we all going to be at grandma's house? That's that feeling of centering. Gemini is not interested in that. In essence, Gemini is interested in going and exploring and what's on the other side of the fence. You guys getting the idea? Getting the idea? Good. All right. So just by going from one sign to the next, and there's much more to it than this, but this is just keeping with the earth, air, water, fire, cardinal, fixed, mutable. Okay. Now, we go back to the zodiac. We now go from cardinal water leading through feeling to fixed fire. Fixed fire. What do you think of fixed fire? You think of a flame that you can't put it out. You got a birthday candle, you blow on it, the flame comes back. You've seen the trick candles. You just can't put out the fire of Leo. Has anybody been around a Leo and been able to get him to shut up? You just can't do it. You just can't do it. And they're not made to. They're made to just keep their fire going. Very buoyant, very excitable, very, imagine going to Robert De Niro, trying to get him to shut up. That fire pours out of him, that confidence, that fire. You need to quiet down. You're talking to me? You're just not going to get him to quiet down. That's the fire of Leo. It can be, as with all the fire signs, it can be very arrogant. It can really be a know-it-all. So they got to watch themselves if they don't want to cross that bridge. But sometimes the fire needs to come out and needs to stay lit. Other times it needs to do other things. The zodiac is really smart. It knows exactly what it's doing. And these basics are so unbelievably important before you try to translate a chart or understand what's hitting you. You're just not going to get it. You need to understand your basics. So we've seen Aries, start the fire. Taurus, ground everything. Gemini, disperse all the ideas. Cancer, find the feelings, gather the family around. Leo, fifth sign. Everything's on fire, it stays on fire. Okay. We'll move on to the sixth sign. Virgo. Now we have gone from the fixed fire to the giving out of earth. Giving out of earth. Fixed fire, mutable earth. Giving out earth. I'll help you build your garage. That's what Virgo's about. Virgos are unbelievable amount of Virgos are nurses. They're helping you fix things on the physical plane. That's what Virgos do. They love to fix things on the physical plane. Now, it becomes much, much more complex than what we're talking about. But one of the things you see is each sign is really reacting against the sign before, because the sign before has to stop eventually what it's doing. It can't go on forever. Aries just can't keep flying around. They just can't. They have to come down to the earth, and they have to dig into the earth, and they have to get grounded at some point. The Taurus can't stay all day planted in the earth, and they dry up and they blow away. So they have to get up and get out and get moving. And the Gemini gets up and gets moving, jumps the fence, starts to broaden its horizons. And after a while, the hobo, the prodigal son, is out there looking all around, eventually tires, and it has to come home. And it has to get nourished at home. And this is what happens in the sign of Cancer, which is generating all the emotion. And okay, that goes on for a while. But what ends up with Cancer? Cancer ends up being very tentative, and it ends up being very delicate. And the zodiac has had enough of that, and it can go on for so long. And out comes a teenager. Fixed fire Leo. Fixed fire. I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. Give me the convertible, Dad. Give me those keys. Let's go raise hell tonight. So you see the confidence gets boosted in the sign of Leo. And then this is a really critical one here. The one that's really critical is the next one right here. But this Virgo Leo one is really critical because the Leo is about boasting. I can do it. I can drive this car. Look, I can handle it. I can handle it. And the Virgo comes along, and the Virgo can't stand boasting. It just can't stand it. Go to your Virgo boss, try to brag about something. Go to your Virgo brother, sister, try to brag about something. And they're going to just turn you off as quick as you can be, because they just don't like people bragging and stuff. But they're both necessary. Bragging is kind of negative connotation, but sometimes self-expression is needed. So that contrast between Leo and Virgo is really, really critical, because the Virgo says to the Leo, why don't you take that lampshade off your head and start being humble like me? And Virgos are very, very humble. Okay? And one of the reasons Virgos humble like they are is I believe that they can sense what's next. I believe that they sense that the seventh sign, or the top half of the zodiac, is next. And we're going from the me half to the we half. In other words, Virgo knows that we're getting ready for the debutante ball. We're getting ready to go out in public to make our social appearance. Because up until now, nothing's social. It's all personal, first 6 signs. So you see, I haven't done this in a long time. You see the mutable earth, the giving of the earth, change into very social. We now go into me to we, and now we're into cardinal air. We're into teaching people how to think. Teaching people how to think. That's what Libras are really good at, teaching people how to think. Okay? And the main thing about Libra is it's really now obsessed with being socially accepted. So when you see Libra plants, it's about social acceptance, social climbing. And they got to really watch it, because they got a real tendency to want to put social position above all else. And they got to be careful of that, because it can end up leaving them behind. So the Libra is really important about them learning and teaching. Very smart sign, very street savvy winners. They land on their feet. They almost always have a really good job, and they almost always have a beautiful partner. Almost always. They just don't marry people that aren't that beautiful. They just, are very attracted to beauty of being around them, and they're very attracted to beautiful partners because of that. And a lot of that is because they're ruled by Venus, which is a planet that loves beauty. Okay, now it's really a critical sign, Libra, because it's the first sign that's really out there with people. And that's why if you look at Libras, who knows Libras? Okay, Libras are all in on being socially accepted. And Libra is not about the scale being balanced, and it's not about harmony. Those things are secondary. The scale is about comparison. That's what Libras are always doing. Some signs are always doing one thing. And I tried to get it down to every sign. I could not do it. I tried to. Libras are always comparing. Virgos are always fixing. Capricorns are always making sure. I tried to get it down to do a whole chapter on it. I just couldn't find the grasp on it. Some signs are very clear, but Libra's always comparing. That's how you learn about your social position, by comparing yourself to other people. How do they think? Where do they live? What do they drive? What are they wearing? So, et cetera, et cetera. Now, let's go on. So, Libra becomes really critical because you've crossed another solid line. You're now in the quadrant of relationships. Okay? And this quadrant is about me plus you. So I start learning about me plus you. And there's no sign more me plus you than Libra. Libra is obsessed with how am I when I'm combined with you. And they need a partner. If you know a Libra friend and they're going into business, I will guarantee you 95% of them will go into business with a partner. They just work better with a partner. They might not even be that emotionally attached to them, but they need the partner sounding board. And they've gone into cardinal air. So they're the ones to talk to about what are the ideas on the street? What are the ideas to get around, to make you savvy, to get around and be, socially quick. Okay, now what happens is really interesting here. And this is really, there could be a whole book written about these lines here. What happens at these lines between the signs? What happens at this line right here? What happens at this line here? There could be a whole book written on this. And what happens here is the Scorpio, instead of being mental, becomes emotional. And instead of being cardinal, they become fixed water. So they become obsessed with fixed love. They become obsessed with deep love, deep dependable love, deep non-betrayed love. There's the number one word in a Scorpio's life, betrayal. The number one word. And I've studied these things very deeply. I will never betray you. You will never betray me. And that's why they have a reputation that if you betray them, they got the reputation. They're all not that way. Some of them are. But they put so much weight into being dedicated. And without a doubt, the number one fault I see suffering, the number one reason I see from Scorpios that they suffer is without a doubt they get over-dedicated. They get over-dedicated, or they expect the partner who's a non-Scorpio, they expect the partner to be non-betrayal. And some signs just can't do it. They're not fixed. When you're fixed, you're fixed. And you don't betray. Other signs, they're mutable. They can't do it. Cardinal. But the real difference is the Libra starts the relationship. The Scorpio makes it deeper. That's the difference between houses 7 and houses 8, between the 7th sign and the 8th sign. That's why if you know people, and this is really true, if you know people, and I've seen plenty of them, who have a lot of planets in 7 and 8. They have a lot of planets in Libra and Scorpio. Okay? If they have a lot there, then they're overemphasized on the health of their relationship. The whole world, all that matters, not that the planets are going around and people are out shopping and people are out buying and wars are going on. All that matters is how that relationship is. It's all in Libra and Scorpio. They live and die according to how well that relationship is. And that can become really dangerous because it can lead to, I will not let you leave. Even though you want to leave, it can lead to, you can never leave me. I've got to have you forever. You know, they just lose perspective because everything becomes a relationship. And sometimes the best part, without a doubt in astrology, is the letting go. Sometimes it is. But to Scorpio, letting go looks like a weakness. There's so many intricacies in the zodiac. It's just unbelievable. Okay. So we've seen the relationship quadrant get started here. We've seen that these guys exchanging air, helping you learn how to think. And you see these people are getting really affixed with their emotion. You love it or you hate it. You love it or you hate it. But what happens interesting here is the hottest sign of the zodiac, most intense sign, Scorpio, is right next to the most playful sign, which is Sagittarius. And you see the people coming out of the kitchen with their coats on fire and they jump into the snowbank to put the fire out, and they become mutable and they're dispersing fire. And what happens here in Sagittarius is they're done with personal relationships. They're done with one-on-one that I just harped about in these two signs. These are the two signs of one-on-one relationships. And Sag wants to try everything. Sag wants to go to the registrar every day and change their major. They want to travel all over the country. They want to get into Winnebago and go to central Indiana. They want to just do everything. They want to do that. They want to be married to 6 people at once. They want to just try this and try that. Why? Because it's out there. And I've had tons of Sagittarians in my office, and I say, you want to travel? They say, I want to travel. And I say, where you want to go? And they all say, I don't care. I don't care. I just want to go. Susan, right? I don't care. I just want to go. It's the act of going, spreading, moving on. And a lot of that comes from, I think, the soul remembers the gooey stuff, the gooey trouble they got into with all those soap opera relationships in Scorpio, because daytime soap operas are scorpionic. That's what they are. Oh, why did you leave me? Oh, you can't do that. You know, oh my God, he's going to break her heart and all this stuff. And Sag is just beyond it, because Sag is mutable fire. Mutable fire. I want to give out fire. Let's set off some sparklers. Let's have some fun. There are several signs of the zodiac that use one word all the time. Several signs. Sagittarius use the word fun. Geminis use the word interesting. Cancers use the word feel. There are several signs that just use that word all the time. You'll notice once you start focusing. So the Sagittarius is really incredibly important because it's beyond individuals. Now it's the colleges, it's exchange students, it's government, it's governing, it's politics. It's much bigger. And notice something here. Watch this. There's a marvelous chapter in the book that's called the six polarities. And it's really, really important. How Sag is different than Gemini, how Scorpio is different than Taurus, how Libra is different than Aries. I'm not going to get into it now, but it really is very, very helpful. So Gemini is like learning to get its mind working, exchanging on a small scale. Sag is big, going to Harvard, going overseas, exchange student, et cetera, et cetera. So now we've got relationships down in this quadrant. We've learned to meet people, to behave socially. We've learned to have intimate relationships and all that brings. We've learned now to see your country versus my country, mutable fire. Now we cross that line again for the final time, and we get to the final cardinal sign, the cardinal sign of making Earth go, generating Earth. The Capricorns are really good at being presidents, being the leader of a board. They're really good at moving materials around, directing people. And you notice the word world here. This quadrant is now beyond people. It's now into the world as a whole, the world and beyond. That really should say the world and beyond, which is when you get into these two signs. So the Capricorn has a real hard time with Sag. And this is why 2008 was so difficult, because in 1995, Pluto went through Sagittarius, the fun-loving sign, and it got to 2008 and it ended in 1995 through 2008. What do you see every day? Every day, every day. Advertisements for new credit cards, new mortgages, credit cards, mortgages, credit card, mortgage. It's coming, dropping out of your mailboxes. Just, we don't know how we're going to pay for it. We're just going to go get one. 3 new Winnebagos, 4 new yachts, whatever it takes. And then it came to 2007, 2008, and Pluto went into Capricorn. Boom, the bills came due. That's what happened. The bills came due. And since 2008, in the fall of 2007, we've been trying to put up with all the fallen structures, all the collapses, all the corruption, all the entities that have fallen apart. 2008 is going to go to 2023. So we're about 2 years away from Pluto going into Aquarius. So you see, the Capricorn ends up picking up the mess that Sag leaves. Because Sag is not there to pick up the mess. Sag is there to have fun. They just want to have fun, and that's the way Sag needs to be. Just how they are in general. And Capricorn is very responsible, duty-filled, responsible, pick up very much the father of the zodiac. Father, mother. Father, zodiac, mother, zodiac. Okay? And so Capricorn starts to think about the world. This is the first time that the soul is starting to think beyond itself. Beyond itself. I'm thinking about you. I'm thinking about all of us now. So instead of Cancer being, I got to think about how I'm doing, am I being taken care of? Capricorn's about, are we all being taken care of? Capricorn's the one that's responsible for figuring out a new type of government to run us, because the old one sure fell apart. So we go into Aquarius. This is a very intriguing line here. And what happens in this line is you go from a cardinal Earth, giving out Earth, leading Earth, generating practicality, to fixed air. Fixed air is what? Fixed air is, I know what I think and I'm not changing it. Fixed air, I'm really concentrated. Edison tried 8,000, Thomas Edison tried 8,000 materials until he came up with tungsten in the light bulb. Fix it, constant try, fix it, just not giving up, kept trying, the fixed signs are very persevering. So in the Aquarian stage, it's a fabulous stage, the 11th stage of all, it's fixed air. And what that means is Aquarius has been around. They've scoped everything. They've got everything figured out. That's why when you talk to one, you're not going to change their mind. They've spent their whole life, their sign is always on one thing. They're one of the signs, and they're always putting the big mental picture together. They're always doing it, whether they're 2 or 4 or 16 or 80. They're putting the big mental picture together. That's what they do. And everything they see, does it fit here? Does it fit there? Else I throw it away. That's why they're very hard to talk to. They're very pleasant and they're very lovable and they're real friendly, but they're real hard to convince. If you want to convince them of your point of view, good luck. That's why you'll see tremendous numbers of Aquarian males who get sick and die because they won't go to the doctor. And all their life, tons of people are trying to get them. Look, your arm's just dangling. Get to the doctor. Nah. They won't go. You can't talk them into it. They're much worse than the Aquarian females. Aquarian males are really, really stubborn. And that's one of the natures of being fixed. Okay? They're wonderful friends. They're the best friends in the zodiac. They're very tolerant. They're what the world needs now. We've had too much Capricorn. We've had too much destruction of old systems. We need a lot of Aquarius energy. And thank goodness Pluto's moving into Aquarius in about a year and a half. And other planets are moving in. But even then, it's not going to be a picnic because the Pluto return is happening in the United States chart, is happening right here. About 27 Capricorn. So the Pluto return in February, coming to you this February. Pluto started here in 1776, and it's gone around all this time, all these years, 230 some years. Pluto's gone round and round and round and round and round, and right now, Pluto is right here. It's right next to it, 1 degree away. Pluto's 1 degree away. And the Pluto return is going to be massive because when a planet returns, it's very much like mom and dad walk in unexpected and say, oh, what you kids been doing with all that money I left behind? What you guys doing here? I left you all this millions of dollars and I gave you 236 years. What have you done? Let's take a good look. And we already see the results of the Pluto return forming, even though it's not exact, where we see so many systems have fallen apart, so many roads and bridges fallen apart, etc. So Aquarius is a critical sign. Here's the reason why. Very critical sign. Because it's a sign of the us, where we think about what I do for myself is equal to what I do for you. What I do for you is the same as what I do for us. And you've got too much selfishness going on in Cancer and Capricorn. Too much thinking about me. What about me? What about me? What about my family? Aquarius gets beyond that. Aquarius says, what I do for my family, I do for your family. I got 10 loaves of bread. I'm going to go find 9 other families. That doesn't happen in Cancer, Capricorn. It happens in Aquarius. It's bigger and broader. And that's why you have the image of the water bear. And you never do see the Aquarian carrying water. You see the Aquarian spilling the water. It's should be called the water spiller, the water giver, because they're giving back. They're giving back. Aquarians are obsessed with the environment, giving back. Aquarians are big people. They think of all of us at a broad level. That's why they end up being very good in PR, in advertising. They end up being very good in government because they really are the idealistic sign. Okay, now the real hard one, the last one. FDR, Dr. John, you're exactly right. FDR and Lincoln, tremendous Aquarians examples. 2 of our greatest, FDR and Lincoln. I mean, Lincoln cost his life. He knew he was going to die. He had, people don't know this. This guy had massive migraines every night. He would take long walks to the drugstore to get powders, and he was just going through so much pain. He lost 3 children in the war. He gave everything he had for the Union because he was dedicated. He was fixed to the idea. His idealist, fixed to the idea of I was hired to keep the country together. And 4 days after he's done, he's shot. Okay, very intriguing. Okay, this is the most critical jump that ever happens in the zodiac, is the final one here. Because you go from fixed air, concentrated ideas, to giving love. You've already given ideas, you've already given earth, you've already given fire, but now you're giving love. And if you talk to a lot of Pisces, and you may not believe this, but if you really talk to them and listen to them, all they want to do is give of themselves. They want to help people. They want to help people stop suffering. They want to help people love. And that's why it was really amazing when we got to the Pisces chapter in the book, we had to give it a title. And we thought about it for a while. And I'm really pleased with the title we gave it, which is, Isn't He Silly? Because they're not a critical sign. They don't say, isn't he a bastard? Isn't he a rah, 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 rah? Isn't she rah, 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 rah? So they say, isn't she silly? Isn't he silly? That's very Piscean. It shows in built-in forgiveness, built-in understanding, built-in compassion. Just a beautiful sign, but it's definitely the hardest sign there is to be. I waver on this now and then, but if it isn't, it's one of the top 2 or 3. And the reason it's so hard to be is because it is. Now watch this. This is all shown very clearly in the book. Here I am. I've taken a step away from God. This is the critical step in the zodiac, because I'm in the oneness of me and God, and now I'm leaving it to become just me. So I'm obsessed with me. Wow, look at the stuff I can do. And that's what Aries is about. Okay, so now that Aries has taken that step, we have this thing called an ego, or a separate self. What happens here? Well, the self needs to be solidified. Okay, it's got to get anchored. So it becomes earth. And then the self looks around and notices other selves around, other things around. It learns to communicate. So the illusion of separateness just gets worse and worse and worse as we go through the next 11 stages. Because there is no such thing as separateness. There's only oneness. But Aries has started us down the path to separateness, which really isn't real. So we got to keep it up. So each of the next 11 stages, we get worse and worse in our sense of separation from what we really are and trying to get back to, which is a state of oneness. So the Gemini starts to pick up the mind. Then the Cancer starts to huddle together. Well, if we're going to be out here in this world, ooh, baby, it's a wild world. Cancer, Cat Stevens. It's hard to be, you better beware out there. And the Cancer starts to bring the family together, protect it. Okay, then the Leo comes along and says, well, I don't want to be all ultra sensitive. I want to be tough like a teenager. I want to be tough all on my own. You talking to me? I want to be tough as a self. Now the self is really solidifying and it's really getting lost because it's really far away from its basic nature, which is oneness with God. Then the next sign comes along, Virgo, and the Virgo perfects everything, and it gets things right, and it fixes everything, and it's getting ready to press its pants, press its shirt, because it's going to go meet people. It goes out and it meets people in Libra. Now we're getting even more diluted, because there's not only me, but there's now me plus you. Huh? Well, I got to get a better looking girl, because this one's better looking than that one there. Okay, I got to get a better job, because it's better than that other guy's job over there. So the ego is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. It's all built into the zodiac. And now, oh, if only we would just get married and we would become undefeatable. We would be so tight, the two of us, we'd never betray each other. We would have such a union. Now, what was oneness is now two-ness, is now oneness again, but it ain't the big oneness. It's the oneness of two people. So it's another illusion. Okay, so the whole zodiac's full of illusion till the final stage. So Sag comes along and says, well, we got this tight marriage and we're growing up and all this, but boy, we'd be a lot better if we just let go and just travel everywhere and just taste everything. Okay, let's go taste everything. So Capricorn comes along and says, well, we got to start merging with the rest of society. So it starts to merge and it starts to give up a lot of its independence because it's sacrificing. And Aquarius comes back and says, well, we're not going to sacrifice anything anymore because I am the sign of the individual. I respect my individuality. There's no one like me. I am unique and I am totally deluded. The Aquarius stage is totally deluded. It's totally the self. Doesn't need anybody anymore, doesn't need the money, doesn't need the ideas, doesn't need you to agree with it, doesn't need you to okay its feeling, because it's totally self-fulfilled. And the Aquarius looks around and says, but I'm still bummed out. Why is the Aquarian bummed out? Because the Aquarian is separate from God. So that's the final stage and the big challenge to the zodiac. And the final leap takes place between Aquarius and Pisces. And Pisces is about giving love, giving up the self. Because when you give up the self is when you return to the oneness. And that's exactly what Jesus meant when he said, when you die, you're reborn. But people have taken it into, have you been reborn yet? It's not what it's about. It's about the mental state. The mental state of Aquarius is, I got it all figured out, and I'm self-contained here, and you're absolutely independent, and you're absolutely in the middle of hell because you're not connected to anything. You're self-contained, but you're no longer connected to anything. So in the final state of Pisces, this is why Pisces is all about wanting to lose. And it's really confusing to them because they don't want to win. The high school team's picking up basketball team, and they're the last one chosen on the team. And they're the ones with no ambition, and they think everybody's silly because they understand at a deeper level what's happening. And at the Pisces level, when you give away everything, when you give away love and you give away everything and you start to empty yourself, what's left is the you that started, that was already blended with the God force that was before Aries got tricked. Before Aries got tricked into thinking that it could be separate. So it's a beautiful sign. And it's really, really hard. And of all the Pisces people in my life, I only know 2 or 3 that could really handle it. And that's because the rest of their chart has enough Aquarius, has enough Aries in it. And what this book really is, this book is a march to the sign of Pisces. And the original title of that book was Pisces, the Ultimate Sign. And I didn't think that people would understand it properly, so we changed the name. But that book is all about the delusion of taking a step away from God, the need to then empower the ego, make it stronger and more impenetrable, to the final stage where are you going to go? You're all out there alone, you're all by yourself, you're total, but you're not connected to anything. You're not connected to anything, and that's where you get Aquarian aloofness. That's where it comes from. And then Pisces has that intelligent, intuitive need to just start giving up. But they get it screwed up. They start losing. They start getting walked on. They start being a martyr. They don't understand it properly. And that's what this book is about. This book is about the march to the sign of Pisces. And it spends a lot of time explaining to Pisces what they are, who they are, because they don't know. I have so many Pisces come into my office or readings with me. They have no idea what they are. And you ask them a question, they say, I'll know. You ask them another question, they say, I'll know. You ask them another question, I'll know. And the reason why is they don't know. They just don't know. And the reason they don't know is they don't separate one thing from another, like a Virgo does, like an Aquarian does. They don't separate anything, one thing from another, because it's all the same to them. And that's exactly right. That's the beautiful part of the Pisces stage. It's all the same. There are no differences. It doesn't matter. That's the key word to a Pisces. It doesn't matter. But there's a real difference. Here's the critical issue on the final sign. There's a real difference between it doesn't matter and, hey, man, it doesn't matter. There's a real difference. One is giving up. You don't care anymore. It's like self-suicidal. The other one is you don't see differences because there aren't any. There's just one of us. So that's why I was so proud when I had Deneen on the show, and I'm glad I remembered this. Deneen joined us on the show. She was the shaman with us a couple months ago, and she's a real example of a true Pisces who's kept her individual power. And that's why in the book I spend a lot of time talking about Pisces, how they've got to keep their individuality at the same time keep in perspective their oneness. You got to keep them both, but keep their oneness. Now, the reason I bring her up was because of that, but I wanted to let you know also, in case you didn't see this today, you can go to Deneen Joyner, DeneenJoyner, DeneenJoyner.com, because she is giving away one free reading to the best paragraph. I guess if you go to her website during the month of August, it's going to stop on September 1st. And you write a little paragraph like why you want a soul reading. And I've had one from her, and she spends hours with you going into your soul reading and who are your guides amongst your family, what is your purpose with your genealogy, with your lineage, etc. She gives you a lengthy reading. So she's got a free trial going on. Just go there and you can go through this, answer the questions the best you can, and she's going to read through all the answers and pick one person that's going to get a free reading, and they're $400 normally. That's at DeneenJoyner.com. Now, why is Deneen special? And I don't mean she's better than other people. She's special because she has that natural need to give love, but she stopped people from walking on her. She's got the natural need to take care of herself, but she's not selfish. So that's the epitome of the zodiac, is getting to the final sign where you just want to give love to others, but you're not concerned about being stepped on because there is no you to be stepped on. And that's a hell of a state to get to. That's a hard stage to get to. And that's why I told you each sign is different. The Pisces stage has two wonderful gifts that most people don't have as easily or generously as they have. They have faith and they have belief. They have a built-in faith, and that's why they can easily say, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. What they really mean, it doesn't matter because your bread is taken care of for you tomorrow. Your bread is taken care of. When St. Francis started the Franciscans order in Italy, and he was berating his Franciscan monks because they would go out and beg for two pieces of bread, one for today, one for the day after. He would say to them, what kind of faith do you have? One bread. You'll be taken care of the next day. The Pope went to see him. Not him see the Pope. The Pope went to see him, heard of what he was doing, and said, you're being ridiculously cruel to these people. If they want to beg for 2 days worth of bread, let them. You're being too hard. But I thought that was an amusing story. So you see in the zodiac that it all comes back to fire. It all comes back to earth. It all comes back to air. It all comes back to water. Cardinal, fixed, mutable. You mix it all together. And what you end up having frankly, as an astrologer who's been around for a while, I think the worst problem that we run into when dealing with reading a person's chart is people take themselves so seriously. People think they're so important. They just think they're so important. And that's why the Pisces say, isn't he silly? Isn't he silly? Because they understand that. So the next time you're with a Pisces, look around, look a little deeper. Don't look askance so easily. Don't write them off so easily, because they're not fighting for center stage. They're not fighting for more money. They're not fighting for this or that, because they know we've all got it already. We all have what we need. So it's a little bit preachy, but that's how the zodiac is. And I will take a few minutes worth of questions if you have any, because I think the zodiac's pretty damn amazing. Yeah, if you have a question, I'd be glad to address it. Just raise your little hand. Yeah, Capricorns definitely take things way too seriously. There's no getting away from that. Who's got their hand up? Anybody? Okay. I'm sorry. I see it. Teresa asked to unmute there and get you unmuted, and you can ask your questions. Once you unmute yourself.
Okay, here you go. Did I do that?
Yeah, you're fine.
And now I can't see myself or anybody else, but that's okay. I just wanted to comment something. First of all, I want to say I'm almost done with your book, and it's just wonderful. I've learned so much about myself, my family, and all of that.
Thank you so much.
When you talked about Leo, my sister Leo dated Robert De Niro, and I guess he was a Leo too.
Yeah.
And I can understand why that relationship didn't work now.
That's not why. It's not because they're both Leos. Two Leos can get along beautifully. It depends on where their other planets are. It all depends. Each sign's really complex. But two Leos can be beautiful. Leo women can be beautiful. Leo men have a lot of trouble. Leo men are usually pretty self-centered.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Yes, Miss Erica B. You are asked to unmute.
Hi, Rick. I have a question about Pisces people. Like, how, if you understand that nothing matters, how do you succeed on this earth plane and become successful and feel that you're not constantly failing and a loser and hurt yourself over
Hold on,
it?
right? Let's go one at a time.
Okay.
First of all, you got to define what you mean by successful.
How about have a job where you can like support yourself, for instance?
Okay, the Pisces doesn't necessarily see that as successful. To a Pisces, most of them need to get a job, be successful, support themselves, yes. But when you got the image of the wandering hermit who's wandering around with his holy book in India in his bare feet, and he's totally fulfilled, and he's totally one with God, and he goes into his cave, and the community brings him milk once a day. To him, that's total satisfaction. That's totally successful. Now, on the more practical level, what you have to do, a good question, Erica, and it's written in the book clearly. If you're a Pisces that's in the world, you can see George Harrison in the Beatles. He was always leaning away from the Beatles, all the success. He was the Pisces. He was leaning away from all the bullshit. All the John and Paul up front, give me my soul. And George is in the background writing all these songs about God, staying out of it. Well, the answer is very clear. You have to balance the two. You go to work, but you don't get hung up on your accomplishments. You make money, but you don't get hung up about it. Okay. You just don't get hung up about stuff. And then you get into more of a Buddhist type of statement. Buddhism is very Piscean, where you are, but you're not. It's full. The last two signs of the zodiac are just full of tons of contradictions. But that's your answer. They go to work, they get a job done, they take care of themselves. And you're also right. A lot of Pisces end up being bums. You wouldn't believe how many Pisces people end up at the top of the list of criminals, way at the top, because they end up being shysters, end up being mooches. They get off on the wrong foot. They don't understand who they are. They don't have the tools to work with. So they can end up being really bad. They can be. But the answer, without a doubt, is they do not naturally have an ego, and they have to allow the Aries part of them. They have to allow the Aries or the Virgo part to come through and allow them to be more greedy, more earthbound, etc. I mean, I have Pisces people that have never used the word no. Never. They just don't have to say no. And they have to learn that. So it's all a matter of balance. It's all a
They
matter
have
of
a hard time sustaining it. You know, they can be
Yes.
incredibly successful in
Yeah.
terms of what other people look at them.
Yeah.
But then
Well, they're
something
not a thing. They're
inevitably
immutable.
happens.
They're a mutable sign. You can't sustain. Fixed signs sustain. Give away. Give away. I just want to give away. I want to give away. And that Pisces nature in all of us is what makes us join the Red Cross. It makes us join the Peace Corps. That sense of giving. You don't know what it is, but you get tired of playing with your own stuff. You get tired of playing with your junk, and you want to just get rid of yourself and transcend yourself by being important to others. That's the true Piscean nature. So you can see in this tour that we did, Tour de France tonight, that the whole chart fits together, but make no mistake about it. The chart is 11 stages of being lost and one stage about trying to get refound again. And we all have to just keep on moving. And that's why it's so important that you read the whole book. If you just read your sign, say you're Gemini, that doesn't help you at all. You have to read the whole book to put yourself in perspective with that story that I told you tonight. Okay?
I have to reread it. And I just want to tell you that through your ability of storytelling, you've been able to string this all together like the most beautiful necklace ever, which is understandable to everyone.
Well, thank you very, very much.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you.
And thanks to
Your
Liza.
lady.
And I will relay that to her, and we appreciate it very much. We encourage you to get the book, which is on Kindle or in paper, and to read the whole thing. And I hope that it wasn't too lengthy tonight. I hope it made sense, and I hope it starts to fit together. Because this way you can look at one sign. Doesn't matter, Barbara, if you buy it on Amazon or the website, doesn't matter at all. They're both the same thing. But we enjoyed writing it. We wrote it for the lay person who was not necessarily an astrologer, because there are so many bad astrology books that don't explain it right. So we really beat each other up pretty good, fighting for every sentence. I mean, is this right? Is this the right word? And she has an iron mind. I don't. I have a flaky mind. And because of her stick-to-itness is what pounded out a pretty good product. Thank you all very much. I hope you gained from it. I'll see you next week. Go forth, stay cool. Don't listen to anybody that tells you anything. Don't listen to anybody, even if don't listen to me. Just figure it out yourself. You've all got it right. Okay? I'll see you next. Namaste. I'll see you all next week.
Namaste.
See you, John.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.